let's talk about clarity. You know what's crazy? Most people spend their whole lives running from failure because they think it's going to break them, when in reality, failure is the very thing that's going to shape them. Failure strips away the lies we tell ourselves, the excuses we build up, and the illusions we cling to. It doesn't let you pretend anymore. It doesn't let you hide. It forces you to look in the mirror and see exactly where you are, not where you wish you were. That's the gift. Because once you see the truth, then and only then can you build something real. When you succeed right out of the gate, you don't really learn. You just celebrate. You get comfortable. You think you've got it all figured out. But when you fail, you get feedback. You learn what doesn't work. And in life, that feedback is priceless. Think about it. How many times have you tried something, it didn't go the way you thought, and only later did you realize that was the turning point? You didn't know it at the time, but that failure was pushing you toward a better strategy, a better direction, a better version of yourself. Success is seductive. It feels good, it looks good, but it can also blind you. Failure wakes you up. It's like a cold splash of water in the face. It says, hey, that's not the way. Removes the fog. It shines a light on the path that actually works. You can't grow if you keep repeating the same patterns, if you keep chasing illusions. Failure says stop, look, adjust. And when you listen to that message, you come out sharper, more focused, and far more dangerous to anything that stands in your way. I'll tell you this, some of the most successful people in the world are not the ones who avoided failure, but the ones who used it. They failed faster, they failed bigger, and because of that, they learned quicker. They didn't take failure as a verdict, they took it as information. Imagine if you could shift your perspective so that every time you hit a wall, you didn't see it as a stop sign, but as a signpost. That wall isn't blocking your path, it's pointing you in the right direction. Think about a pilot flying an airplane. Did you know that most of the time, the plane is actually off course? Winds blow it off track, turbulence shakes it, but the pilot keeps making adjustments. Constant feedback, constant course correction. That's why the plane gets to the destination. Life works the same way. Failure is just feedback. It's your navigation system. Without it, you drift endlessly. With it, you can make the micro adjustments that get you exactly where you want to go. But here's the challenge. Most people don't stick around long enough to receive the lesson. They fail once and they quit. They take it personally, they let it define them, and they never realize that failure was simply a mirror, not a measure of their worth. They confuse the event with their identity. They think, I failed, so I'm a failure. No, you failed, so you're human. You failed, so you're learning. You failed, so you're one step closer to clarity. There's no growth without that. Look at Thomas Edison. Everyone knows the story. He failed thousands of times trying to invent the light bulb. When reporters asked him how it felt to fail 10,000 times, he said, I didn't fail. I found 10,000 ways that didn't work. Do you see the difference? That's clarity. Each so-called failure narrowed the options. Each mistake lit up the path more brightly. Without those failures, there would be no success, no invention, no light bulb. The failures weren't detours. They were the path itself. And I want you to think about your own life. Maybe you've tried something, a business, a relationship, a personal goal, and it collapsed. And you're sitting there thinking, why me? Why did this happen? But what if that failure was simply revealing what was never going to work in the first place? What if it was clearing space, showing you that the way you were going wasn't aligned with where you're meant to be? What if the failure wasn't punishment, but protection? That's what clarity does. When you understand that, you stop fearing failure. You start using it. You lean into it. You ask, what is this teaching me? What truth is this revealing? What direction is this pointing me toward? Because make no mistake, failure always points. It always reveals. It always teaches. It is the great revealer of truth. And here's the kicker. Clarity through failure makes you unstoppable. Why? Because once you've fallen and gotten back up, you're no longer guessing. You're not dabbling. You're not just hoping. You've seen what doesn't work, so now you can double down on what does. That certainty, that grounded knowledge gives you a confidence that no shortcut success ever could. See, most people want success without scars. They want the glory without the grind. They want the win without the work. But those scars, those battle moons, those failures, that's where the power comes from. That's where clarity lies. Because once you've been burned, once you've been tested, once you've been humbled by failure, you can no longer be shaken by small obstacles. You've already seen the worst, and you're still standing. That's clarity in its rawest form, knowing who you are when everything falls apart and choosing to rise anyway. So let's get real. Failure is not the end of your journey. It's the sharpening of your sword. It cuts away the nonsense. It burns off the weakness. It forces you to decide who you're going to be. And once you embrace that, once you see failure not as a dead end, but as feedback, you'll never fear it again. You'll welcome it. Because you'll know that every time you fail, you're not moving backward, you're moving closer. Clarity is waiting on the other side of your failure. And that clarity is the power that will carry you to your success. Because failure doesn't take you away from success. Failure takes you straight to it. Failure is where success begins.